Only childhood friend was my Nan and Pop's dog. I still miss him sometimes. He was a border collie cross golden retriever. He was black with white hairs spread around. Sometimes I played ball with him all day from morning until night, having a few rests in between. When I was a kid, I had a huge imagination and used to build teepee huts on my Nan and Pop's 100 acres. I would go down to the lake by myself a lot. I spent a lot of time alone as a kid. I had no friends at all. When I was a bit older than 5 years old, I was allowed to have Barbies, not for long. They got thrown out for different reasons, mostly because my family always moved house. I don't remember how or why, because Dad was religious and was against Barbies because they were idols. I used to use my imagination as an escapism coping mechanism. For an example, shutting my eyes and imagining stories in my head. I played romantic stories in my head because I always liked romance, even before I knew about the birds and the bees. I loved Cinderella and things like that. Before I was allowed Barbies, I used to draw Barbies and cut them out and make cutout clothing for them. I made a lot of toys with paper and cardboard, like toy mobile phones, etc. As a kid who constantly kept being uprooted, that's probably the reason why till this day I feel on edge, like I must move. Also, I can't relax when I'm talking to people. I feel like they will hurt me, so I stay alone and comfortable. It's still hard to make friends, because in the back of my mind I just feel like they are going to switch up on me and leave me. Or get offended by some small little thing and flip out on me. People seem to be way too overreactive in my life experiences. That's why I prefer to be alone. I don't want to be alone though. I want real people in my life who will stay. My other companion as a kid was my doll called Polly. She was a knockoff version of a Cabbage Patch doll. She was my best friend. I spent so much time with her. One day I got angry because I had to play outside, so I threw Polly over the fence and yelled, "I hate you," then had a mental breakdown. I eventually got her back. I felt emotional because I didn't feel loved, so I threw Polly over the fence because she was the only thing that loved me back, and it made me feel sad and unloved. One time my brothers went in my room when I was at school and cut Polly's hair. They didn't get in trouble for it. No one stood up for me. Same thing when one brother put a hole in my drums. He didn't get in trouble. If it was the other way around, I would have got strapped or missed out on dinner, and I would have had to get money to pay for the damages. It wasn't fair that my brothers could treat me horrible and get away with it. More about Dad. As I started going through puberty, I was so scared of Dad that I would slouch so he wouldn't see my breasts. That caused a lot of back and neurological issues with my body, which needed 5 years of continual chiropractic to fully heal. My ex and I went to Chiro together after I left home and was living at his mum's house. My ex helped me overcome a lot of fears, so at least that's one good thing about being with him. Before chiropractic treatment, people used to make crazy remarks like, "Did you break your neck in the past?" etc. Those people were just customers from an old retail store I worked at. It made self-conscious and angry. My neck was quite stiff, and I always felt frozen if confronted by people, which tensed up my muscles and gave the appearance of having an injured neck. I couldn't cross my legs my whole childhood and teenage years because my back was out of alignment. I used to always complain about having a sore back growing up. I always had back problems, which got worse when I started slouching. After going to chiropractic, they fixed my hips too, so I can cross my legs now. I can still cross my legs even though I haven't been to a chiropractor in a long time. Dad was a lingering creep. There were multiple times in my life where I would witness Dad walking in on my sister naked. He would linger around the bathroom while Mum was showering or toileting her, pretending to help, but not helping. It felt so awkward witnessing him lingering around, being a pervert. Made my stomach feel ill. One time at my dad's best friend's house, The whole household could see my sister naked on the toilet. The exposure of her made my stomach churn. She was sitting there all exposed in front of my dad's best friend and all my family. My sister's mental age is behind her physical age, so she was a kid in a developing adult body. She went through puberty young. I felt sickened to my stomach when my sister got put on the pill at 9 years old. My instincts told me it was to stop her getting pregnant from Dad, and that Mum wanted to cover her tracks for the abuse she was letting Dad do to her. She loved taking Dad's side with everything and let him abuse us, and sexually abuse my little sister. A few times Mum would let this man over, and he would hover over my sister staring down her top while sitting next to her. Mum would dress her up and put her on display to show her off to men. She would put low-cut t-shirts with her cleavage showing. That man who visited and Dad would both sit around her closely pretending to help her with stuff, but were too close to her and looked obvious what they were really doing. I didn't like men being around her. She attracted some weirdos around town too, because when I took her out in her wheelchair, there were drunk men hitting on her. There are 3 pubs around my mum and Dad's house. There are so many perverts and I felt very protective of her. I had no voice in my family. I was the quiet one. I was forced to be quiet, then called the quiet one. They belittled me to the point I couldn't talk, so of course I was quiet. I was more observant than quiet. I would watch everything and people's behaviors. There was one time where I came so close to telling one of my aunties on my mum's side about the things Dad did. I might have been 15 or 16 years old. The urge to tell her was so strong, like electricity being stored up in a battery. I didn't end up telling her because I thought about the risks that could happen, like getting kicked out, or my family wouldn't teach me to drive and things like that. Looking back, I'm glad I didn't tell my auntie anything, because when the whole situation got exposed about Dad when I was in my 20s, none of my family believed me. As an adult I became an outcast. I already was deep down, but the rose-colored glasses I had on fell off and all was revealed. If I had have told my auntie that day, who knows what could have happened to me, being in the same city and everything. Dad probably would have came after me or something. If I can give anyone advice, it would be, if you witness abuse in your family, do not tell any family members. Tell a psychologist or even go to the police and Child Protective Services, then ask them to keep you anonymous. Also try and change city or town before exposing anything. Make sure you have stability and are secure. The mistake I made was telling my mum about Dad's abuse. Please keep it secret from your family, unless you're strong and can handle the repercussions and verbal abuse and the screaming in your ear. If you tell your family anything regarding any abuse, be ready to accept that you will no longer be a part of your family anymore. That means all family. You will have to be ready to cut off all family. I made the mistake of still talking to my sister, and she turned out to be a flying monkey agent being manipulated by my dad. She started accusing me of things out of nowhere, and putting my art down after I did a lovely painting for her the way she wanted it to look. Escapism, coping mechanism, and self-abuse. I was always drowsy when I was young. I think I had celiacs back when I was little too, not just in my adulthood. I must have been low in iron because I was always drowsy and had no energy to do things like other kids. I had a hard time learning and concentrating in class when I was a little child. I didn't really know what sex and other things were, but my instincts knew. I had sexual dreams when I was young. I had a strong intuition as a child and knew things without being taught. I knew Dad wasn't a safe man to be around or trust. One dream involved ladybugs, and I still don't like ladybugs until this day. They give me the creeps. I remember millions of ladybugs coming out of a woman's lady parts, and she felt violated. I might have had a hallucination from breathing in Mum and Dad's passive smoke from marijuana. My parents did marijuana on and off my whole upbringing. Another dream involved me being in the shower with a man and feeling disturbed. Why would a young child have such dreams? I still remember them like I recently dreamt them. Dad always knew I was smart and that I knew what sexual topics were about, so he couldn't do anything sexual to me when I was fully aware. I think I was harder to take advantage of than my siblings. I just got the physical and mental abuse, a lot of belittling. The fact I used to observe everything probably got him scared, and he built up resentment towards me for my intelligence. What he did is he dumbed me down and belittled me my whole life. If I went back to see him again now as an adult in my 30s, he would still do that. He would lecture me about what I have exposed him for, and he would yell over me screaming in my face until I cowered down and agreed with his belief by saying I was lying. That's one reason I don't ever want to face him again. I won't ever give my power away to an abusive man like him ever again. Here's some life advice I had to learn, which I want to share with you. Never cower yourself down or make yourself feel small by agreeing with beliefs you don't really agree with, just to make someone else happy. Doing that can make you a weak person and a pushover. It will cause the bully to treat you even worse over time, until they have complete control over you. You must learn to stand your ground with your beliefs. If you don't, people will take advantage of you. It's happened to me my whole past life, so I don't want it to happen to anyone else. Learn to say no and learn to voice your opinions without living in the fear of loss. For example, fear of losing people's respect and love, or losing a position, or a job and stability. God will catch you, so don't worry. Don't be scared because if you don't make a stand, people will trample over you, and you will be stuck in life and never elevate to better things. Start saying no. If you do start saying no, though, be warned that a lot of narcissists will either start bullying you or leave your life, because they can't use you anymore. They will also try to set everyone in the workplace against you, until you are pushed out. But don't worry, God will send you a better job, and better people to be around who respect you. Now back to talking about my dad. I always had to act stupid, or I would get punished for acting smart and intelligent. He would always belittle me and intimidate me if I had a creative opinion about something. I wasn't allowed to have a mind of my own. I had to listen to him and believe everything he said. I had to give him eye contact while cowering around him, or he would repeat himself and yell at me. He would keep saying, "Do you understand?" I would say yes, then he would repeat himself a few more times to brainwash me with his opinions and beliefs. He liked to shout when he was talking, so that he could assert control in the conversations. My parents probably felt exposed or intimidated by me. They were probably confused because no one taught me about sex and sexual things, but I knew what it was. I played kissing games with toys and stuff like that, when I had toys to play with. I just had an inner knowing about sex. I didn't know everything though. They didn't teach me about the birds and the bees or anything. I was being homeschooled on and off. They thought it wasn't their responsibility to teach me about puberty and the birds and the bees. It's a form of neglect, because when I went to high school, I humiliated myself in sex education class because I didn't know basic things, only what sex was. I remember the teens laughing at me in class for asking simple questions. Mum didn't buy me bras for ages, and I would slouch and wear ugly big jackets to cover my body. I wore baggy clothes so that I wouldn't feel violated by Dad. I was so scared of him I always cowered around him. He would whack me over the head sometimes if I was sitting at the dinner table. He used to yell to lean over your food. I wore jackets for years into my adulthood, even in summer on 40-degree hot days, just to cover my body from men seeing me. I didn't want men to look at me because I felt strange. I felt exposed wearing a singlet. I would slouch and have no confidence if I took my jacket off. I'm so glad I got years of chiropractic. They fixed my nervous system and my posture, which I've already talked about, but it was a huge help in my life, so that's why I'm mentioning it again. Dad played tickle fight with me once when he found out I was going through puberty, and he tipped me upside down to touch my breasts under my jumper. I was yelling for him to stop. I was stressed out. I was also getting blood rushed to my head from being upside down. I guess he tried to see if he could get away with anything sexual with me, and how much he could get away with. I felt humiliated and I was crying because the play fighting was rough, and I felt violated. That made me cower more around Dad.